The Social Security Administration, SSA, is quietly preparing one of the biggest disability policy overhauls in decades, and it could change how millions of Americans qualify for benefits. The rule, still in draft form, aims to eliminate the age grid, a set of guidelines that has long helped people between 50 and 59 qualify for disability benefits when their medical condition and work history made retraining unlikely. For years, those grid rules have recognized that older workers face unique challenges in switching careers or learning new skills after injury or illness. If approved, the change would remove that protection, forcing many applicants in their 50s to meet stricter medical and vocational standards that were once applied mostly to younger workers. The proposal hasn't yet been published in the Federal Register, but when it is, a 60-day public comment window will open. This is a crucial period because once the rule becomes final, it will apply to every pending disability claim, even those filed before the change. That means if you're between 50 and 59 years old and thinking about applying for SSDI, disability attorneys are urging you to act now. Submitting your claim before the rule becomes official could help you qualify under the current, more favorable standards. Once the rule is finalized, the new requirements would immediately apply to all open cases, potentially resulting in widespread denials. The public comment process isn't just a formality. In 2019, the SSA floated a similar plan, but it was withdrawn after more than 100,000 people submitted comments opposing it. Lawmakers, advocacy groups, and disability lawyers say that public pressure made the difference. If you want to make your voice heard this time, you'll be able to submit a comment online or call the district offices of your 2 senators and your House representative to register your concern. When the proposed rule is published, it will include a docket number. Make sure to cite it in your message. If you already receive Social Security Disability Insurance, SSDI, benefits, the new rule won't immediately take your checks away. But it could increase the frequency and intensity of continuing disability reviews, CDRs, the regular evaluations the SSA uses to determine whether your condition still qualifies. Experts advise beneficiaries to start preparing now. Keep detailed records of doctor visits, lab results, and prescription changes. When your review notice arrives, you'll need up-to-date evidence showing your condition hasn't improved. Until you receive an actual CDR notice in the mail, there's no reason to panic. The SSA only conducts a fixed number of reviews each year, and many scheduled cases are never opened due to funding limits. Stressing about a review date printed on your award letter won't change anything, but staying organized and prepared will. The new proposal is part of a broader administrative push to tighten disability standards across the board. Other draft rules would shorten retroactive back pay for new beneficiaries from 12 months to just 6 and update the official medical listings used to evaluate conditions like arthritis, spinal disorders, and chronic pain. Another provision would increase how often claimants must undergo medical reevaluations, which could result in more frequent benefit interruptions. These ideas first appeared during the Trump administration in 2019 but were dropped after legal and logistical concerns were raised by career SSA staff. This time, however, with a friendly acting commissioner in place and a fast-tracked rulemaking calendar, insiders believe the chances of approval are much higher. Advocacy organizations have already begun mobilizing in response. The National Organization of Social Security Claimants Representatives, NOSCR, is preparing a free webinar to help people learn how to write effective comments and explain how the rule would affect real-world claimants. Groups like the ARC and AARP are collecting personal stories to include in their formal submissions, real examples of how age protections have allowed older Americans to maintain independence and dignity when they can no longer work. Business and employer coalitions, however, are supporting the change. They argue that the grid rules are outdated, pointing to today's economy where remote and sedentary work options are more common. In their view, the system needs modernization to ensure disability payments go only to those truly unable to perform available jobs. Whatever your perspective, one thing is clear: the window for action is short. Once the 60-day comment period closes, the SSA can finalize the rule within weeks. Court challenges could follow, but those cases take years to resolve, and during that time, the new rules could already be in full effect. If you want to make your comment count, experts recommend being specific and personal. Instead of general statements, describe how eliminating age-based protections would affect your ability to retrain, manage your household, or stay afloat financially. If you're currently on SSDI, explain how additional reviews or shorter back pay periods would impact your stability. These first-hand stories are exactly what rulemakers look for when evaluating public feedback. The potential ripple effects of this proposal are enormous. By removing the age grid, the SSA could reduce approval rates for older applicants by tens of thousands each year. Some disability advocates estimate that the number of approved claims for those aged 50 to 59 could fall by as much as 25%. Others warn that stricter standards might push people with genuine disabilities into early retirement or poverty before they're eligible for full Social Security benefits. There's also concern about how this might affect Medicare access. SSDI recipients qualify for Medicare after 24 months on benefits, but if fewer people are approved or if reviews become more frequent, that safety net could become harder to reach. For many, that means losing not only income, but also healthcare coverage. On the flip side, proponents of the change say the rule could save billions in long-term costs and modernize a system that hasn't been updated since the 1970s. They argue that technology, telework, and workplace accommodations now make it easier for many people to remain employed despite disabilities. Still, for the millions of Americans living with chronic conditions and limited income, these proposed changes feel less like modernization and more like a threat. The reality is that most SSDI recipients are already living on modest payments, typically around $1,500 per month, barely enough to cover rent, food, and medication. Tightening eligibility standards further could leave many without any support at all. The bottom line? The disability landscape could look very different by 2026. For Americans between 48 and 60 years old, this may be the most consequential change to the program in a generation, one that determines whether older workers with health problems can still count on Social Security as a lifeline. If you plan to act, do it now. When the rule is published in the Federal Register,